Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. I'm Deanne Dillard with the Real Estate Success Podcast. And today I have Jay Kinder joining us. Jay has had an incredible real estate career, including being the number 2 agent with Coldwell Banker worldwide, selling over 530 plus homes a year. Jay and his business partner founded the National Association of Expert Advisors, helping thousands of agents all over build their businesses. And Jay, I think you have 10,000-ish in your organization now.
Yeah, collectively getting pretty close to that. Yeah, so pretty crazy here.
That's crazy. I think every time I talk to you, the number is different.
I think we added 451 in the last 30 days. The last time I looked, so yeah, this is it's a movement. It doesn't happen like this for no reason. It happens because something here we're doing is working.
Right, an exodus, right?
Right.
Yeah, awesome. So, well, you've had an amazing career, and it's not like you're 85, and we're going to go back over, the last 65 years in your history. But tell us a little bit about when and how you got started and what your real estate careers looked like.
Yeah, I think like most people, I got into real estate not by kind of by happenstance. It just happened to when I was 19 years old, I used to mow my dad's yards. He had a property management company. He had just bought a Coldwell Banker, and he was in property management, so it wasn't like my dad was gone showing houses and that type of stuff. But real estate just didn't seem fun to me, and he seemed to be always in a bad mood when he'd come home when it was time to go on vacation. So I was
right.
not really interested in the whole real estate game at all. It seemed to be boring to me, but I remember going to get paid. I was getting paid for a yard some yards I mowed his rental properties, which basically meant I got all the yards that nobody would mow the grass and was all this tall.
Nice.
And so I was going in to get paid. It was just one of those days where, normal day. And this guy was getting paid like $5,500 or $5,700, something crazy like that.
Something astronomical, right?
For me, it was. I mean, I was getting like a $400 check. So I was like, man, what did he do today? He didn't even break a sweat. He's like, oh, he sold the house over on such and such. And it's kind of a big deal. It was a pretty decent sized check for my market back then. That's a big deal. For you guys in San Diego, that's like that's
it's still a big deal. Still $5,000.
At the age of 19 and thinking about like, well, if I just did that once a month, I'd be better off than I ever dreamed probably. And so I ended up getting my real estate license, and just like most people, you get in and you gotta start figuring out, well, how do I get customers? And the hardest way to grow a business, I think, is if you do it by referral and by sphere of influence, that's great, but it's not very predictable. And I was so young that I didn't have any sphere of influence or anything like that. And so
your 19-year-old friends aren't buying houses?
Nope, they were doing cake stands still in college. So it just wasn't naturally easy. And I think a lot of agents probably remember those days of trying to make it work in the beginning, and you're doing everything you can. And so I tried everything, and fortunately enough, my dad invited me to go to a couple different events. Little trainings and things of that nature. And I started learning little things, that helped me a little bit. And eventually, had a little bit of success and, closed a couple deals and started, setting goals and just looking at what was working and what wasn't working and started to have some success. I think, I sold 22 homes my first year, then 39, it was like 71. And then,
how old are you selling 22 homes a year?
Yeah, that was the year. I turned 20 that year, so I would say I was 20 that year. Then, by the time I was 23 or 4, I was selling a couple hundred homes a year, and it was pretty crazy. But I started finding what was working, and I started learning how to do marketing to get customers, and that was really the real switch. I remember. I'll never forget the day I went in the office one day, and I remember when I remember grinding every Sunday open houses, doing every 7 to 8, always doing open houses. That was an everyday deal. And I remember the day that I came in at the first time someone had saw a piece of marketing that I put out, called in and said they wanted to list their home.
Oh, wow.
And I remember I had 2. I was gone for like an hour, and there was 2 people that had called in, and I was like, my business just changed. Because I was willing to do the work, but I was like, man, there's got to be a better way, right? And finally, like, it's like pushing the flywheel. You're pushing long enough, and finally, all of a sudden, oh man, that's bearing fruit now. And so it really, and that was when I was willing to put it all in on marketing at that point, because I knew that was the way. You want to get to the point where you become the most known agent in your market, viewed as the expert. And that was when it tipped, and that's when I went from 200 to 400 to 500 plus homes a year. Little did I know that was not the goal. I think part of my frustration in my career was when I got to 500 plus homes a year, I was the most miserable that I'd ever been. I didn't have the freedom, the time freedom. I didn't have, there wasn't more freedom. And it was, everybody I knew was, comparing, their business based upon their transactions. And so if you're not careful and you're on that transaction treadmill and you're getting all these awards for selling all these houses, but you ain't getting any for free. And so, out of frustration and, lots of coaches that I'd hired, we kind of ended up getting into the coaching business, because nobody was teaching you how to build a business. Everyone was teaching you how to get on the transaction treadmill and run until you can't run no more. And if you think about, the agents in this industry, how many of them, their retirement party is their funeral. They sell until they die. Yeah, it's not the goal, right? And so, sometimes you get in this business and, a decade goes by, and then another decade goes by, and then another decade. I'm in the third decade here. And so, it just goes by really fast. And if you're not intentional about what you're trying to do and where you want to end up, you'll end up, like I did with your ladder against the wrong wall. And so, yeah, it's been a fun career, a lot of things to learn, and fortunately now we get to help other agents not make those mistakes and get there faster.
Yeah, I love that. That you say you have to be intentional, because I hear so much, like, we want to sell more real estate, right? We want to sell more real estate. We all want to sell more real estate. And we look at you and you go, oh, you sold 500 homes a year. That'd be amazing. I want to sell 500 homes a year. Jay, tell me how to sell 500 homes a year.
So you have to do it, but I'll tell you why you don't want to do it too.
So you build this big business, you're selling hundreds and hundreds of homes. Your face is everywhere. You got a Hummer with your face on it, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows you in Oklahoma, of all things.
Right.
So why would you have taken that? You're successful. You got a huge team or whatever, and then move everything over to EXP. How'd that come about, and what was the shift in your mind?
Yeah. So first of all, it was I made the switch from Coldwell Banker to going independent. So my dad's his exit strategy was, maybe Jay will buy this thing. And I did the math, and I remember he told me the year he wanted to do it, and it was 2005. And I was doing the math on the business, and there was a 6% royalty that Coldwell Banker charges. And when I started doing the math, I was realizing at that time I was paying, between what I was paying my dad a little bit, he was getting 5%, and I was paying 6%. It was over $110,000 or $15,000. I was like, that's a lot of money. And I couldn't justify buying the company and paying them this royalty forever. And so I had to tell my dad that I wasn't going to be his retirement strategy. And I went independent, literally right next door to my dad's office. And he's still cool.
How'd that go?
Yeah, he's still cool to this day about it. Like, he had totally understood why I wasn't buying it. Totally let me, lease the building that he had right next door. And so it worked out. But that was so, and the reason I did that was because the money didn't make sense. Like, I was paying too much and I wasn't getting anything. And most agents, there's two types of agents that we talk to. Sometimes you're getting business from the brokerage, which means that you're not in control of your business. Someone else is in control of your business. I don't care if you're using Zillow, Realtor.com, your broker's giving you deals. That's a threat. That means that if something changes and they stop, then your business stops. And so you got to immediately pivot. And so I never wanted to take referral deals from my dad's office, because I knew that I would just get used to it. Plus, they were like a 40% referral. I was like, I can generate a deal for much less than what it costs for a 40% referral. So I'll never spend my money on that, and I'll never depend on it. And so that's one segment. And then there's the agents that have learned how the skill of how to spend a dollar in marketing. And that's the outside of selling skill to required, the marketing skill is the number one skill you can learn that will provide the most value long-term for you. You'll never have to worry about where your next deal comes from if you understand how to spend money in marketing to acquire customers. So it took me a lot of learning to get to this point. But, once I finally found the right mentors, Dan Kennedy, Frank Kern, some of the best in the world, and paid them a lot of money and tried a lot of things, messed it up, then eventually get it right. but that, those are the, that's where you want to be, is you want to be where you're spending money to get marketing. So once I realized that Coldwell Banker wasn't providing me any value, that's when I was willing to go independent. Still kind of crossed my fingers, hoping that, nothing fell apart, and it just, nobody even recognized it. They didn't, I thought, as far as I was concerned, I thought everybody just thought I was Coldwell Banker.
Yeah.
Most people didn't even know what company I was with. So went independent, and then we started a coaching and training organization at about the same time. A little bit before that, actually, we had started it, and we were coaching and training agents and helping them build a business, helping them build a profitable business, one that they were able to have more time off, things of that nature. We started a brokerage in Dallas. We got a lot of. I can go on and on with all the stories. I always joke, there's a lot more failures than there were successes during this time. So like the failure, if we did a podcast on just the failures, everybody would be like, my God, why are you still even here? Like, how did you even survive? And so, a lot of really tough times, and like the valleys were way deeper than the peaks along the way. And so, sometimes, you hear these success stories of, how someone got somewhere, but you didn't hear the real story. Like I shared this with someone earlier today. It's like, the struggle is the way. You got to embrace the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not in the struggle right now, then you will be soon, or you're not growing. And so, that's part of it. But, we coached and trained agents, and we started a company where we started partnering with agents in the brokerage and building their personal brand, doing what we did for ourselves, but we just kind of kept moving down the value chain where we were doing more and more done for you for the agent. We hired the ISA, we ran all the marketing, we set the appointments. All they did was show up and get face to face and get the listing. And so we did all of that for a while, and then we saw EXP was just a better business model. I mean, at the end of the day, there were so many things that we understood about the business model that most people probably haven't made the connections on until they really look at it closely.
Right.
We just saw that, it made everything infinitely easier to scale. If you wanted to grow outside your market, especially across state lines, some of those things are really challenging to do. And so, we were open-minded to it. The timing was right, but we were open-minded to it. And we felt like, man, we could try to go compete against this, or we could just leverage this platform and try to, use it to add more value to more agents that we partner with across the country, which is what we do. And so, yeah, it's, I think, not a whole lot of people probably look at the model and understood it the way we did, just because we were in kind of a different industry, so to speak, where we were serving agents as, as partners of theirs. Yeah, it's a no brainer. It's, it's the only company that you can join that you can get paid more than 100%, significantly more than 100% if you wanted to.
Right. There's so much that you just said that I could unpack. I mean, let's go back to talking about leads and getting referrals and that type of thing. Referrals are great, right? But you can't build your business on that because it's not sustainable, right?
It's not predictable, right?
So okay.
Nobody can tell me, hey, how many referrals I'm going to get in July this year, right?
Right.
So it's great. It should be that should be the foundation of your business, is your referrals and your repeat business that comes back to you. But if you're newer in the industry, you don't have that.
You don't have it. Or if you change markets,
right?
Like I changed markets, yeah.
Right. All of those things are great, but it's not sustainable, and it's not something you can build upon consistently. And so it should be a focus of the business for sure. But that's not the only thing. Most people that came to us for coaching, they came to us with that problem. It's like they're doing 30 deals, 40 deals, but they can't really get above it. They have some good months and bad months. We call it the real estate roller coaster. And we just help them with, how to get customers. That's the how do we turn strangers into clients for you? And that's where the business really starts to change for someone, and where it starts to compound on itself and really take off. And so. Yep. And so that's usually, if I sat I've been in front of thousands of agents and spoken with thousands of, rooms over the years, and 75% of the room is stuck in the same stage of the business. We call it stage 3, between stage 2 and stage 3, where they're doing less than 35 deals a year. And the number one thing that I could, right? Like if I can show them how to get 3 clients.
You froze right there, Jay. You froze out right after the number one thing.
Listings or 3 buyers.
Oh wait, you frozen.
Hopefully the internet's back on now. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's
the one thing I was holding on. Like the one thing. What is it?
Yeah. So the one thing is, what was that? What were we saying? Now I forgot.
the one thing that we share. So let's talk about when we talk about helping agents double their business. They're in that 20 and 30.
Yeah, it's just if I could get you 3 deals, show you how to get 3 deals a month by spending a few $100 in marketing. You everybody in almost every room I've ever been in would go home happy. You know what I'm saying? Like that's at the end of the day, that's what like. Okay, everybody. If by the end of the day, if you guys knew that you could invest $300, $500 in marketing, and you could get 3 deals closed per month,
all day,
every single month from now on, how many of you would be happy? That's the most of the room, right? So that's the biggest problem that we can help agents solve is how to get customers. And so that's when we focus on doing that, which is great when you really think about this. This is crazy that this is the biggest problem our industry has, right? Like, why has somebody not decided as a brokerage to approach and solve this problem for the agent? And you got all these people selling you this, and Zillow's trying to sell you on their ROI calculator of how much money you're going to make, and it's ridiculous expensive. Yes. Those leads are not any better than any lead I could generate. And so that's and I didn't know that at the time because they literally have the best salespeople I've ever talked to at Zillow. And it's like, man, I'm like, man, this sounds really good. I'm going to buy.
I'm going to buy some Zillow leads.
But the reality is they're, it's way overpriced for what you can generate. I mean, we're generating some leads in $2 to $3 a lead, and they're higher quality, right? And so you just have to, you have to learn some things about marketing to have those skills, but you really don't have to learn it. You can just be in business with the people that know how to do it. That's a better way. You don't have to, spend the number of hours and days away from home that we did to go to all these marketing events and learn all these things, then spend our own money and do it wrong, and then figure out how to do it right. You don't have to go. The shortcut to that is partner with the right people that can help you grow your business. That's the secret here.
It is the secret, and you're taking all my questions because you have the answers before I even ask them. But when we talk a lot about in the group about helping people double their business, that's the easy one, right? Partner with us, and we'll help you double your business. So, but what does it look like to partner with us? When you say that to people, they're like, okay, what does that mean? Partner with us?
It's kind of one of the things I try to describe in anything that you're doing that there's a sales presentation around, which is anything you're selling, is what is how do you make the value visible, right? So we learned this with our tools we created in AEA for value proposition for how do we get a seller to want to pay us the most amount of commission. And I always tell the story, like my competitor in my market used to charge 4%, and they sold 700 plus homes a year, and I was selling less than them, and I charged 7%. And so I had to learn how to communicate a value proposition where they were willing to pay me that much more than what my number one competitor. That's not an easy thing to do. It's a terrible competitor. It's a great competitor to have if you want to hone your skills, but not the most fun because I hated them. And so, what we ended up with is understanding, really by doing an autopsy anytime I would lose, and by really, trying to understand what they were using to try to win. And we created a process, number one, and then a presentation with the value proposition. And so, if I asked you, hey, why should I list with you? The number one agent in the market said they're willing to do a full service, list my house, and they'll do it for 4%. If you don't have an answer to that, you're dead in the water, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to be able to articulate a value proposition that it's meaningful to their situation. So for sellers, we have a proven, repeatable system backed by market research to sell homes for up to 18% more than the methods of traditional real estate agents. Would you like for me to show you how we do that? That's going to get you at least an opportunity to present what you do that attracts a higher offer than what maybe other agents may be doing. And so that's a process. And so that's a value proposition. That's how you want to be known, what you want to be known for. That's what you want your sellers to experience in the process. And so when you nail that, now you have the ability to really, multiply your business and go out and spend money in marketing and get people to come to business. And so, that's a key component to any agent's business. And early on, we recognize that and we have to just, create a defining gap between us and the rest of the agents in the marketplace. If you don't, then you're just a commodity, and now people are going to ask you to discount.
You're frozen.
It keeps
frozen. Yeah.
I'm back. Is my head moving?
You're good now.
Good.
Yeah, it's moving.
That's how I can tell if I'm not frozen on my end.
Your head moves.
Yeah.
So, okay, you share all this information, you sold thousands of homes. Why, when you partner with us, or why would you share all of these secrets? I've been in this industry and agents do not want to share their secrets with you, right?
Yeah.
And even brokers don't share. Nobody, even if you're in another market, they're not about to go, here's all my secrets and here's my time and go be successful in your market. So what makes it different that we're over here giving all the info out?
So yeah, so this is such a I so wish people understood this and this was easier for them to understand. At the end of the day, my job with NAEA and Kid Reese Coaching, when we had 50 employees and I was selling products, I was managing and leading people. I wasn't face to face. I wasn't on this podcast. I wasn't on a call with one of your agents that you're bringing over, trying to help unpack how to get them from wherever they're at to where they want to go, right? And so what the most valuable mentors and coaches can do is they can unpack where you're at, where you want to go, and then they can help you. Then what are the next, what are all the ways to accomplish the goal, and then what's the best next step, right? That's really what a valuable mentor is, and that only happens if you are working with someone who has done what it is you're trying to do, and then more importantly, has a track record of performance of helping other people do it too. What that means is that they actually have systems for how to help you do what they did. First of all, they know what they did because, kind of as I mentioned in my story, I didn't today, but I usually do. When I got to doing 200 or 300 deals a year, my buddy Mike Reese calls me up or we run into each other at the lake is what actually happened. And he's like, dude, man, you seem to be killing it, man. How's it going in real estate? I'm like, yeah, dude, here's it. So we talked all day long. He quits his job, comes down and visits me. And Mike, if Mike would have said, what did you do to get to this point? Like, tell me, break it down from day one. What did you do? I'd be like, I don't know, heck if I know. I did a whole lot of stuff. Most of it didn't work. I'm not sure how the heck I got here. But, because Mike started day one with my website that I was using to generate 300 leads a month, Mike's biggest problem was already out of the way day one.
Yeah.
And so knowing, right things, right order, and working with someone who, and because he called me every day as he grew his business, he did $1 million in GCI in his third year. It took me 6 years to do that. So that was the aha moment, was like, okay, there is a process that you can follow. And that's what we started coaching to, is right things in the right order. You're going to exponentially grow your business. And so that's what we teach. And I think anybody can talk a big game about how they're going to help you. And I think every brokerage probably says they're going to help you grow your business and this and the other. But like, what's, and the truth of it is you want to believe them. You really do. But, and they probably have good intentions. But the reality is they probably have never done what you're trying to do. And they probably they don't have a system for exactly what steps to take for you to do it too. And that's a huge, just fundamental difference in what somebody might be promising. And unless you've paid enough people and learned the hard way, you'll believe them. And so, that's a big difference, is that we have the systems and processes for helping people. We have a track record of performance of top agents in the world all around the country have all either, and it's not that we were the reason they're successful. We just had a process for them to follow, and they were successful people. I always used to say, we don't make winners. We make winners win bigger and faster. I have the utmost respect for everyone that's ever come in contact with us. And I think they have the same respect that we help them with the framework of how to make decisions and build their business in a way that other people never were trying to teach them. And so, when you partner with us, and our success is predicated upon your ability to close more transactions. So I'm not going to you don't have to get your credit card out. You don't have to ask us for any, you don't have to pay us anything. And we get paid if you close deals. That's it. It's that simple. It's fundamentally, it's the way it should be, right?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I've been on several calls with you and brought agents in, and they'll say one thing that they're dealing with or whatever, and you just go in this whole thing where you unpack, like, okay, do this, and I'm like, oh wow, that was great for me.
Right.
Because even that 15 minutes, you're sharing so much.
You look under the hood of thousands of agents.
Yeah.
Cut out again.
Do it again. Move your head.
There we go.
There you go.
See it. I'm moving. I can see it now. I'm good. I think I'm good, but it was silent, so I didn't know for sure. Go ahead.
Oh, I think we were both talking over each other, but yeah, even 15 minutes we're chatting, you unpack so much right away, right? For just whatever one sentence that some agent said that they were dealing with. So
Right.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's this is not the sexiest word for what it is that we help people with, but it is what we do, and it's we give people clarity. And like,
Mm.
when you get out of bed and you have absolute clarity on what you have to do and what you need to be focused on to hit your goals, and you know what that is, and you believe that out of all the things you could be doing, there's no shiny object that's better, and you just execute on that one thing.
Yeah.
Your confidence goes up that you're moving in the right direction. I think a lot of times, because there's no one around, you're in business by yourself for yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's you can second guess what you're doing, or some new salesperson sells you something else and another technology to implement. And
Mm-hmm.
especially if you have a couple good months, where you've got some money set aside, you'll buy anything because you're trying to figure it out. And
Yes.
it's that process of knowing, and then ultimately I think, what my goal is and has been for since we've been coaching is we're going to teach you the framework so that you don't need us outside of the fact that we might have things that we've seen when we say what are all the ways to accomplish a goal. There might be many things you've never even imagined that we've seen work to solve a particular goal, or whatever that problem might be. And so that's the value of having mentorship and people that are at a high level, because they may have seen things you've never seen before or done things that you've never done before. So that's a value prop. That's something that there's always value in a mentorship. But like my goal is for you to have the process down so you know how to make decisions, so you're making better decisions in your business from now on. And so if you follow that process, that's a process that you have downloaded and is how you operate. And that's going to be the difference in you having a real business or not. And that's, fundamentally, we didn't create it. We learned it from our mentors that mentored us and that taught us the process. And, we followed it. And I followed companies that have built as big as $1 billion that follow the exact same process that we teach. And so, again, we're just like rip off and duplicate, man. We're not, there's no new ideas here. It's just when you take and you help people with, whatever that biggest problem is. And if it's, you're all over the place and time management and things of that nature, like that stuff is easy to fix. We can help you fix those things. And then it's just, now you can just build upon it. And there's, this business is amazing. Like you can make a ton of money in real estate. And if you're not, it's just something you haven't learned yet. Like that's all it is.
Yeah, you shared with me one time when I was telling you something I was thinking of doing, and you said, "Well, the goal isn't clear enough," and I'm like, "Oh man, he's right."
So you know what? That's such a great example, because you did, right? Like you came at me with a bunch of different things that were that unless it's funny because I say it all the time, and Al, me, Al, and Mike, we're all business partners, and me and Al are working on a project right now. And I bet I've said this at least 10 times in the last 3 days. What's the goal?
Yeah.
I learned this from Jay Abraham, and we would get into a meeting with Abraham, who was, an expensive mentor to get in the room with.
Absolutely.
And you could have thought about what the goal is before you got in the room with Jay. He would be very frustrated if you hadn't. And so we'd be sitting around before the call, the whole entire management team at NAEA, and we'd be like, what's the goal? We write it on the whiteboard. Because this next question is always, is that really the goal? Like, is that really the goal? Shit, I don't know. Is that really the goal?
What is the goal? What's the end?
Let me give an example. So I didn't know how brilliant the process was of really getting clear on the goal. It makes sense, right? Solve the right problem. If you have the right goal and you solve the right problem, you're going to probably get there faster. But I remember I had just gone through this with Jay Abraham, and I get on the phone with my team in Oklahoma, and I said they wanted to have a meeting with me, and they brought me in, and they don't usually bring me into those meetings. At this time, I was kind of out of the business. I was really kind of in the CEO role. I was not even in the CEO role. I was running a company in Dallas.
Yeah.
And so they wanted me in on this call, and they said, well, we had 2 agents leave, so we need to recruit some agents. That was what they said. And I said, is that the goal?
Oh.
And they said, that's the goal. That's the goal. And I said, is that really the goal? We're thinking a little bit differently about the problem. I said, well, okay, so what's the problem? Agents that did this amount of deals a month on average with just company dollar of this amount of dollars that we need to replace. Right. That was basically what we needed to do. Now, at the time, we had 100 listings on the market, and the market wasn't super fast, but several of them probably should sell, and they just hadn't been price reduced and hadn't been focused upon, making sure we get those properties sold. And so we instead tightened up the ship, and we focused on getting listings sold. And because we did that, and we did recruit agents, but if we'd have recruited agents, we wouldn't have gotten paid for probably 6 months down the road before the actual dollars would have came in from the recruiting. And so that wasn't the goal. The goal was to replace the revenue. And so we focused on the right, solving the problem in the right way, where it was easier to do that and faster. We could do it faster because we could tomorrow sell a house and it goes under contract and it produce more revenue.
Sure.
And so it was just amazing to watch. We watched the company go from, and again, John was running the company at the time, but I watched it with me out of pocket, not in sales, a salaried listing agent. And I watched the company go from like break even to about 11% pre-tax profit, then to 22% pre-tax profit by us understanding what's the goal. Is that really the goal? What are all the ways to accomplish the goal? And now then what's the best way? And sometimes you come into an idea where you think you know what you're trying to solve, but you haven't really taken a step back. And so that what's the goal question is important, because you go out there and I give you an idea and you run with it, and it was, wasn't really the goal, right?
Yeah.
And then, you're going to look up 6 months from now, a year from now, and you're not going to be closer to what your real goal was. And that's really again, you just want, if you want to exponentially grow, you got to be doing it strategically and making the right decisions. Otherwise, I'll give you an example. I talked to another example. This is a while back, and I was on a call with this lady, and she's like, I said, well, what are you trying to accomplish? What's your goal? And she said, well, I want to be the number one agent in this market that she was in, which I think it was, I think it was McKinney, and McKinney, Texas. And I said, well, tell me what you're doing. And she's like, well, I'm doing these buyer webinars and da 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 da. And I just bought a Zillow zip code and the Zillow zip code was a city that's about, 30 minutes away.
From McKinney, yeah.
30 minutes away. And so as we're starting to list out all the things she's doing, and she wants to be the dominant agent in this market, she's doing buyer webinars, and which is not going to help you become the number one listing agent. Right. And then she's spending money on Zillow leads for buyers in a market that's 30 minutes away. Like, it starts to become real clear that she wasn't clear on the goal. Like, I had to help her get to that, right? I had to help her ask a few times to say, well, is that really the goal? What are you trying to do? Well, this is what I really want to do. Okay, well, everything you're doing is not in alignment with the goal. So you're not going to get there doing what you're doing. But no one had ever asked her that question and really forced her to get to the point of real clarity in what she was trying to do. And this only happens when you get clear on where you're at and where you're trying to go. Right. So once you have that, then we can start talking. How do we get there? Right. But until you really know what you're trying to do, and I would challenge anybody who's listening that if you don't have a crystallized image vision of what you want your life to be like, not just your business, but what your life to look like, then you will end up somewhere, but it ain't going to be wherever that is. And that's that part is it's not the most fun part for people. It's not that little gadget idea that's going to close the deal, but man, you sure feel a lot better when you know what the heck it is you're trying to do here. And it's going to pull you through the times when it sucks, because guess what? Sometimes it sucks, and you gotta want to do it, and it's got to be your vision. I can't give you that. You have to pay for what your B is. And so, and that's so we're beating a dead horse here a little bit, but that's
but it's a good dead horse. Every time I'm making a decision and people around me are probably getting a little annoyed, but I'm always like, well, is that going to make the boat go faster? Is that going to make the boat go faster? You and John Kitchens have programmed me to say, well, is that going to make the boat go faster? Right. So what is it we're trying to accomplish? So, yeah. So what about teams, independent brokerages, and they're doing great, and somebody presents them this model? What is it for them that is the benefit to consider moving over? Because we all hear, oh, we're fine, right? We're doing good. I'm happy where I'm at. But then once you start talking to them, there's always something there, right?
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. So what's the end game? I think for us, when we looked at, we would have executed on it. We would have built a big brokerage. It would have been one of the top ones in the world. In terms of the United States size wise, that was. We would have just done it. It would have happened. And so, we would have been nothing compared to EXP. we would have never saw what they saw. But at the end of the day, when I did the math on the valuation of the company, 1.5 to 3 times EBITDA, like what I was trying to build, and like when I took my ego and put it aside, I was like, this is not worth the next 10 years of my life to build something that's not going to be worth any more than 1.5 to 3 times EBITDA. And they're going to ask me to stay on, and they're going to have a clawback for anybody that leaves. And so, that's the problem with selling a real estate brokerage. And so, your exit strategy has got to be clear. You can't just have this vision and and then the other thing was, I think you have to understand is like your vision doesn't change. My vision was 2,000 partners at EXP. Before we were at EXP, we had Expert Advisor Home Services, 2,000 partners by December 27th, 2024. That was the vision. We're at almost 10,000 partners now, and we've only been here. We're 2 years, earlier than the original goal, right? So like this was a platform that we were able to take what we're doing and do it bigger and faster. And that's the switch that has to happen for anyone that owns an independent or a big team to get, especially if you plan on expanding. I mean, I was going through some slides that I have and working on a presentation, and I found some slides that we were going to use for we were going to tell our story and raise capital and go do it faster. And I found the one that was it wasn't the org chart, but it was like an org chart, but it was all the company entities that we had created. It was unbelievable. I mean, I can't believe we got that far. But it was like 15 or 20 entities that we had and holding companies and all these things. And it was just multiplying every state that we would go into. We'd have to do another one. And it was just it was getting out of hand. The legal was expensive, like expanding into every state. This is not fun, right? Like not fun. And so, that's one of the filters I run everything through is this going to be fun? And that was not fun.
I was going to say, is this fun now? Are you having fun?
Way more fun. Yeah, way more fun. Like I'm having the time of my life. And, that's a cool thing that, you don't, most people, I would think if you own a real estate office and you were in sales at any capacity, you don't really love the back office and that part of it is not the funnest part. Get that stuff off your plate, man. It's a lot more fun, and you can go build something and grow something and focus on that, and not have to worry about the minutia and the back end. And that's what EXP provides for us. It's a way for you to accomplish your vision that you have for your business faster. It's like the analogy I use is like it's like Microsoft or Dell, but it's powered by Intel. You're just being brokered by EXP underneath, and they're brokering the deals for you, and you're out there building your business the way that you envisioned it. And so it took a little bit ego out of the way and open-minded and all that to kind of see that, but that's truly what it is. It just gives you the ability to do it bigger and faster.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am going to respect your time. I could talk to you for another couple hours, and I know you have a tight calendar.
Yep.
But I appreciate you coming on. How can people reach out to you and find you?
Yeah. So what I would say is here's what I would say. Listen, like I don't know who is waking up every day thinking about how to help you solve your problems, and if you don't know who that is either, then I would reach out. I would talk to Deanne and just have a conversation. Like there's nothing to lose. Like you have nothing to lose. You'll learn something for sure. You may not decide to come partner with us, but I believe that it's probably in your best interest to at least have vetted it out completely, so that that's not something you should be considering. So like if you're not getting to the goals that you want to get to fast enough, and you want to get there faster, and you'd like to have some people that you don't have to pay that would be willing to help you do that, you should probably learn more about how we can do that for you. And so I think that's the advice I give everybody. There's not nobody is going to ask you for your credit card. Nobody's going to try to club you over the head and convince you that you got to join. We're not going to give you some magic potion to drink. Like we're just going to try to help you. And I think you kind of, after people realize like, hey man, they're just trying to help. Like, I don't care if you're doing or not, just hopefully I can help you. And here's what I would do if I were you based on where you're at. And so, learn the most you can, say yes until you have to say no. That's something that served me well over the years, and I would reach out to you and you could set up a call with the three of us and we'll figure it out together.
All right. Perfect. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate your time.
You got it. Take care.
All right. Talk to you later.